Well, hello, football fans, and welcome to this edition of the Lamar Viking Football Billy Skinner Coaches Show. I'm Bill Frawley, and with me, of course, as always, head football coach at Lamar High School, Billy Skinner, as well as Lamar High School athletic director. Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a little bit earlier than we're used to. So beforehand, I had to get some of the sleepies out of my eyes and all that good stuff.
Well, I understand. I'm coming to you. Last week I was in Brock, Texas, and this morning I'm coming to you from Toledo, Ohio. And I was going to have it set up to see the beautiful view of the Maumee River,
Yeah.
but fog rolled in and it was creating glare off the window, so it would have been worse than this plain background I have behind me. But it's fun to be in different places and still get to be able to do these things.
No doubt about it. Hey, I'm telling you, best traveled show around.
All right. One day it might be international, even who knows? But for now, hey, well, coach, as we get started, I gotta say, I'm kind of an NFL fan, mainly high school and college football, and got into one of those fantasy league things. But I noticed yesterday, Miami put 70 points on Denver, and it
Holy moly.
and it caused me to Google, and I said, what is the average score? Well, the average score in NFL games apparently is 20-17 over, I guess, the history. So for someone, the highest scoring was 113-72 back in 1966. So still the
Yep.
modern era. All right. So I'm watching the highlights this morning, and Miami's up 56 to something in the third quarter. They're up by 40 points, and yet they're still throwing deep. I
Yeah.
mean, he threw a bomb. All right. And I'm thinking to myself, some people could be offended and say that's rude. Do you have thoughts on when is it, quote, enough? When do you let off the accelerator?
You know what? I think that's the highest level of football. And people are paid to be out there. People are paid to stop people. People are paid to put points on the board. And so, I mean, when you're at the highest level, I'm all for sportsmanship. You'll never see us try to run it up or embarrass anybody. Um, but if we're an NFL team and we have the ability, you may see us do that. So, and you know what? You go back and you look at the stats. Yeah, maybe they're throwing the ball down the field a little bit, but their most explosive plays seem to have come off the run game. I mean, the kid out of Texas A&M who I just picked up
A-Chain?
A-Chain, who I just picked up for my fantasy team. I
Nice.
mean, he ran the ball 18 times for 203 yards and 3 touchdowns. And so when you're as explosive as they are on the ground, maybe it is a little bit more sportsmanlike to put the ball in the air. So, but when you're at that level,
Yeah.
in my
No.
humble opinion, the all bets are off. Stop them if you don't like it.
Well, you make a good point, and I guess there is a difference between getting beat by 50 points and still getting $6 million at the end of the season, as opposed to high school students out there for the fun and they're student athletes. And yeah, so good point. All right. Well, I don't know that we're going to have to be concerned about that anytime soon, but hey, got Martin coming up this week after the bye week. And I know it was a lot of focus on grades, and I've been watching the Sports U post, and I love how much not only do you say on these shows, and I know I've heard you tell it to the players and families, and I see it posted by you and the other coaches. This week, we're focusing on Vikings. We're focusing on what Vikings do. Do what you can do. The rest will take care of itself. That is playing out well, I would guess.
Yeah, you know what? I've actually I feel like that's something I've done a poor job of this year. Early in the year when we first played Timber Creek, I made it a lot about what Timber Creek does and how we match up well to it. And this guy on Timber Creek and this guy, and then Waxahachie, it was about their defensive line, and then it was about this guy, and then it was about this, and then Keller Central, it was about maybe the deficiencies that they had. And so and even Mesquite, I mean, a lot of times when we were discussing things with the kids, I feel like I got away from what I truly believe in. And that's, hey, here's what the Vikes have to do to have success this week. Instead, it was more, hey, here's what they do poorly. And here's what it was a lot of other teams' names in our mouths. And that's not what we're about. That's not who we are. And so I wanted to refocus and rehone in on what's important and what's always been important in our program. And that's, how can the Vikes be successful this week? How can the Vikes avoid beating the Vikes? How can the Vikes improve on this piece? How can the Vikes improve on this piece? And if we take care of those small pieces, I feel like that's going to be better results for the Vikes. So yeah, I'm glad you noticed that, but we want to make sure we are hitting that home more and more this week.
Well, I like the word one of the words you used in there, like a lot of them, but you mentioned like, how can we be successful? And, and people in the working world, athletic world, the classroom, family, whatever, how do we measure success? And so success is measured a lot of different ways in the football team, in the football program. It's not always about the W. It's not always about the score on the scoreboard. It's about personal accomplishments. Right. And for instance, don't know how much you want to say about this, but I was watching posts. A lot of players rallied in the classroom and came back and got themselves eligible when it was possibly borderline. Yeah. That's success right there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because that was probably our biggest win of the year thus far. I don't remember. It might have been 2017, 2018, the last time we had 5 teams that remained eligible after grades. And the fact that we're going to continue to have 2 freshman teams, 2 JV teams, and our varsity team intact after grades this year, like that is a huge program win. And that's a testament to guys like Coach Viard. That's a testament to guys like Coach Naharo and Coach Williamson, who are constantly talking to their staffs about checking those grades, communicating with teachers, communicating with kids, getting them where they need to go. I'm so stinking proud of what these kids are doing in the classroom. And the other thing that's about to show up, because we post our all academic Vikes. I'll post those on Sports U here at the end of this week. And we're going to have more kids on that list that are making all A's and B's and all A's than we've had since I've been here. And so,
wow.
I mean, I'm super excited about just the academic excellence that our kids have held themselves to. It kind of reminds me of the Pygmalion effect, where if you hold kids to a ridiculously high standard on something, even if no one else thinks they can, but we believe they can, we make them believe that they can, they're going to reach it and they're going to do it. And so this year, instead of talking about, hey, let's stay eligible, it was more of, hey, let's get you on that A/B honor roll. Let's get you on that A honor roll. Let's play a step above what we're used to. And so these kids, man, they're answering the call on those kind of things. So it's exciting.
Well, last question on this. I don't want to overdo it, but it's worth stating a lot about. It sounds like, is there some pretty good peer, I don't want to say peer pressure, but peer encouragement, peer support among the players themselves to be eligible and to step it up to that A/B or A honor roll list?
No doubt. We have a competition between position groups, and it's a GPA competition. And so everybody's got to do their part to get their position group to the highest GPA possible. And then we will post that on the TV when the kids walk in. They'll see, okay, here are the kids who are on the all academic team, but then here are the position groups, and here's how they ranked 1 through 8 on their GPA this year. And so nobody wants to be that group at the end of it, and everybody wants to be that group right there at the top. And so you definitely see some competitive juices, and you definitely see some guys trying to bring other people along with them in the classroom.
Excellent. Well, let's go ahead and shift over, since this is a football coaches show, but I'm so glad we had the opportunity to talk about, these are student athletes.
Yeah.
But on the football field, now something I've noticed, especially it seems like in the most recent game, you've got Trenton Yancey deep on kickoffs, and sometimes Sneed maybe, or someone else deep, and they're kicking away from Trenton Yancey.
Yep.
And it's almost like, I even think I saw one time they switched right before the kickoff, and the kicker still figured out where Yancey wasn't.
Right.
And all right, so we don't script these out. I'll ask anything. You'll answer just about anything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Have you ever thought of like some kind of a reverse or flip to get someone else the ball, not just Yancey, but wherever it might be?
You know what? Yes, I have considered it. I've considered doing a fake reverse. I don't know. I think the football gods have selected reverses for me as my curse. Okay. I, as a head coach, have never had one successfully work for me, And so I try not to tempt the football gods. I feel like we've got a pretty good other side where whether it's Braylon Sneed, whether it's Deontay Gentry, whether it's Gregory Peoples. I mean, if they're kicking away from Trent, they're still going to kick it to a dangerous returner. And a lot of people are blown away by Trent's speed. And I mean, that kid, he's at a different level when it comes to football. But those other guys, they've got great vision, and the way that they can hit it once they catch that deal and once they know where the blocking is set up. I mean, I feel like we're still very dangerous in the return game, regardless of who you want to kick the ball to. So I'm not going to tempt the football gods with a reverse, or maybe I will. I don't know. Who knows?
I know.
But,
well, all right. Well, and that's a really good point, because a lot of teams, they've got two deep, but one of them is the guy. But like you just mentioned, you just rattle off 3 or 4 names of the two people. Any two could be deep, and the other teams again have to be careful of who they do choose to kick it to, if they don't just squib it short or something like that. Because you mentioned a lot of explosive players right there. Well, this is going to be an exciting week. Get to go play at Choctaw Stadium, formerly Globe Life Park. And just a bit of trivia about 5 years ago, I think it was, we played Trinity there before you came along, and it was the first high school football game played at Choctaw Stadium. And Jay Ryan and Steve Langford and Richie Sheridan, our whole group, we were the first crew to broadcast a high school football game from what is now Choctaw Stadium. It was Lamar hosting Trinity.
That's awesome. I had no idea. That's really cool.
And it's so interesting. Well, and I knew we had done that, but then it popped up 5 years ago. It was one of those memories on Facebook for me, and I hardly do anything on Facebook anymore. And it reminded me that it's such an interesting view, because the press box area is behind what was home plate.
Yeah.
Well, the football field is askew. So when you're in that broadcast booth, you have like an angle view across the field from a corner of the end zone. So we're all using binoculars and sometimes the big screen to see what exactly happened out on the other 7-yard line.
Yep.
But it's fun, but we're set up to do the broadcast this Friday night from Choctaw. So, all right. I know one of the key answers is, well, this week in preparation, Vikings are going to work on being Vikings.
Yeah.
What else do you have to think about? Because this is one of those 2 or 3 big rivalry games of the season. What do you have to do to get everyone fully prepared?
Well, I can tell you, just kind of getting into the nuts and bolts about it. We've got to be better offensively in the red zone. That was something that we spent a ton of time last week during practice working on: short yardage, red zone, third downs. We want to be better at situational football offensively, and then defensively, just with what Martin does. What do the Vikes have to do to be successful? Well, the Vikes have to line up. Martin does a ton of different formations. They don't run a ton of plays, but they do line up in a bunch of different ways, and then they'll run a lot of the same stuff. And so we've got to make sure that we get aligned. Our eyes have to be better than they've ever been when you play a team like this. And so defensively, we're harping more so on alignment, getting lined up, having your eyes in the right spot, and then do your job. Once the opportunity comes to you, we got to get the guys on the ground. And so we'll focus on those football fundamentals after we do our alignments, after we do our assignments and those kind of things. And then in the kicking game, we've got to be solid in all protections. There's not a better team in the state of Texas than Martin at coming and attacking kicks and doing those kind of things. So we'll definitely hone in on our PAT and our field goal teams, making sure that we're solid inside out. And then we'll take care of our punt teams the same way. We got to make sure that we're protecting, and then we give those guys an opportunity to give us a chance to kick the ball without the double thump. If you hear a double thump in the kicking game, it's not a good feeling. And then on the flip side of that, we have done, I think, a really good job of emphasizing going and getting kicks. I mean, I think we've had 4 blocks this year already through 4 games. And so, instead of being passive and hoping we don't get one blocked, well, we're going to be very aggressive and assertive with it, and we want to go block one. So in those three phases, obviously offensively, we want to take care of situational football. We want to take care of the football. Defensively, we want to line up. We want to make sure that we're getting guys on the ground. And then PAT, we want to protect. We want to get down the field. And then we want to make sure that we are going and being aggressive and attacking kicks and attacking punts.
Okay. So speaking of thumps, and I was looking back at some of my notes from the last game that in Mesquite, and I was sending some messages to the rest of our football broadcasting crew because I was there in the stands, and I was put down there. Sidney Anderson had a great punt and then had to stop the return guy. It was the thump in all caps heard around the world. I can still, when you said double thump, I said, I don't know that we mentioned that on the last show after that game, but I wanted to bring that back up, and that was a thump. And tell us a little bit about on kickoffs and punts, the players staying in their lanes. And then sometimes we've had the kicker or the punter make that tackle.
Yeah, no, that's I'm glad you brought that up. That's something that we've got to get much better on, and something that we also attacked this week from our kickoff standpoint, because we've got a side that gets down the field really, really quickly, and we got another side that kind of not as fast as those. And so we've had to spread some guys around and make sure that we're getting down the field equally, because in return game, if you create vertical lanes, they don't need a bunch of space to go and hit and attack and those kind of things. And then our kickers and punters are having to go and make tackles. So definitely revitalizing that stuff and making sure that we've got guys getting down the field cohesively, so that we're not creating those vertical run lanes for those returners.
Gotcha. All right. Well, sounds like a good approach. Can't wait to see that executed, and looking for some great stuff on the field at Choctaw Stadium. Vikings against the Warriors at 7:00 kickoff. Let's talk for a few minutes about the sub-varsity. Now, JV plays over at Martin High School. Is that correct?
No, JV will play at Lamar. They'll be at Cravens.
I'm sorry, my bad. Freshman plays at
yes. Freshman will play. No, that's okay. Freshmen will play at Martin High School Thursday night, 5:30 and 7 p.m. And then the JV will play at Cravens Thursday, 5:30 and 7 p.m.
That's right. Yeah, I always have to remember varsity away, freshman away.
That's
JV
right.
home. And I
that's the only way I know it.
I got it screwed up. We can even say that one more time if we want to, so everyone's real clear on it.
That's it. So on Thursday night, we'll start with the freshmen. They will be at Martin High School. Yeah. We originally thought they were going to be at Workman, but we're gonna be at Martin High School on Thursday night with our freshmen. The freshman gold will kick off at 5:30. Freshman Navy will kick off at 7. The JV will be here at Cravens Field, and at 5:30 the JV gold will kick off, and at 7:00 the JV Navy will kick off.
Sounds good. Thanks for clarifying that. I like to set you up to look good, Coach.
Hey, I appreciate it. I need all those wins I can take. So thank you.
Well, speaking of wins, how about all the Gatorade sports drinks and Powerade and all these that have been donated? Still coming in good enough?
Still coming in. We can always use more. Again, after grades, we're still going to have 5 teams. And so we still want to keep those kids hydrated. We want to make sure that we're taking care of our guys. They definitely appreciate it. I know we as a staff really appreciate it.
It's a great way to see the Booster Club and the community show up and support in ways that doesn't get a lot of spotlight, because can't say everyone that brings some in. But what else do you want to say about the Booster Club, and before we start to close off?
Yep, I had an opportunity to meet with the board yesterday, and we've had a lot of good things going with the board. We've had a lot of good things going with our Booster Club, tons of volunteers. We can always use more. Obviously, we're going to have those 2 games with our JV here this week. So Miss Tanique Post is going to post on Sports U looking for volunteers for concessions. So if you don't have anything going on Thursday night, come help out with concessions. I know they have a great time while they're out there. I like to go to the concession stands during those times just so I can kind of hear them joke around and make fun of me a little bit, and then I get going. So yes, I mean the involvement that we've been having with our folks and our families, it's been awesome, and we want to continue to grow on that and build on that. So yeah, if you see that post from Miss Post, make sure you're ready to respond and come help out with concessions.
Well, and speaking of you loving to go to the concession stand, I forgot to give you the shout out 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think, but if I did, I'll do it again. You brought our announcing crew on a Thursday night nachos from the concession stand, and thank you, Coach, because it's not right below us like it is in baseball. But so thank you for answering the call, so to speak, when you came up to check and see how we're doing. Say, hey, y'all need anything? Well, I sure wouldn't mind some nachos, So thank you for doing that.
Well, it's my pleasure. And I'm telling you, you guys deserve the world for all the things you do for Lamar football. And so any small token of appreciation, we're going to throw it out there because we appreciate you guys.
Well, appreciate that. All right, let's shift gears because you are the athletic director and you like to bring up the other sports.
Oh,
I
yeah.
did make it to Lamar for the volleyball games last Friday evening.
Yep.
The JV did really well. I
Yep.
believe swept Arlington in 2 straight sets. And then the varsity, man, there were some close sets in that thing. I mean, the middle set went like 26-24 or something like that. And the other ones were not blowouts. In fact, there were a lot of lead changes. It was fun to go watch that.
Yes, those girls, they play so hard. I like to go pop in on practice whenever they're getting after it, and you see those girls just getting after it. Caroline, I think it's Caroline Hodges. If I got her last name wrong, please forgive me, Caroline. But every time I go in there, I hear like this loud whack, and it's normally her going up, just knocking the poo out of a ball. And it's impressive to see. I would not want to be on the receiving end of one of those hits. And so, yeah, they've got our young ladies there. I want to say they're at Bowie on Tuesday, and then they've got SGP at home on Friday to finish out the first round of district. And so
Okay.
Any support we can get for our young ladies, any support we can get for them, definitely want to make sure we're packing the stands for them, and as they make their push to get into the next season.
Well, and like I say, those stands were packed on Friday night, and a lot of noise and a lot of good spirited cheering from the parents, friends, and student athletes, or just students that were in the stands. It was neon night or something.
Yep.
A lot of students came with reflective vests or neon shirts, and they were loud and proud, and it was a great environment. All right, Coach, anything else to add before we close off?
Oh, you know what? I think I'm pretty boring. I might still be a little foggy before 8 a.m., but no, just if we want to get everybody out to Choctaw this Friday, come see us, come cheer on the boys, come celebrate the Vikings this week.
It's a fun environment. Need to pack the stands with Viking fans. Well, until next time, I'm Bill Frawley with head Viking football coach Billy Skinner saying VFND.
VFND.